In April of 2016, we took a Viking river cruise through China. We had a wonderful experience and we hope you'll enjoy this description of our journey. Our tour included Beijing, Tiananmen Square, the Forbidden City, the Great Wall, Xi'an and the Terracotta Warriors, Chongqing and the Pandas, a 5-day journey on the Yangtze River visiting pagodas, the Three Gorges Dam, and an elementary school, and ending with 2 days in Shanghai. Beijing is the center of government and power in China. This is seen in its architecture, which includes the Olympic Stadium and the CCTV Tower building, which defies the laws of gravity and common sense. The city dates back more than 3,000 years and was the imperial capital from the 10th century on. It has a population of 24 million and is challenged with problems of excessive traffic, pollution, and overcrowding. Driving in Beijing is a free-for-all, where rules of courtesy don't exist. I winced as I watched one potential accident after another, where vehicles cut each other off, ignored rules of the road, and endangered their personal safety. But somehow there's no road rage, few accidents, and everyone gets to their destination without showing the slightest concern. Congestion and pollution is so bad that you are permitted to drive your car only 2 days a week, depending upon the last digits of your license plate. This law is enforced by traffic cameras, but most drivers ignore it because the fine is only $2. And then there are motorcycles, bicycles, and three-wheeled carts. For them, there are no rules. Traffic lights are ignored. Cutting in front of a speeding bus doesn't even raise an eyebrow. No protective equipment is required, and the amount of people and stuff you can carry on them is limited only by your imagination. We arrived at our hotel where I was impressed by the view, and my wife Peg was impressed by the high-tech toilet. The next morning at breakfast, my wife announced that because all food was included in the price, she was going to try eating everything that was offered. The first day included octopus and jellyfish. After breakfast, we took a short bus ride to Tiananmen Square. As we approached, we got our first view of the Archer Towers. Our guide Roy explained that Viking had to arrange prior government approval for us to visit the square. He presented our paperwork to the authorities and we were quickly ushered in. There are 4 archer towers. In the time of the emperors, archers were stationed in each tower to maintain peace and repel the enemy. Tiananmen Square is 100 acres and is the world's largest public square. It's a vast, open paved area where people wander around and enjoy the importance of where they are. It was originally created to be the front entrance to the Forbidden City, and it remains that, but it's also the national center stage of the communist government. On one side of the square is the Communist Party headquarters. This is where all power resides. Opposite is the government meeting building, which amazingly was built in just 10 months. On the third side is the Mausoleum of Mao, with statues showing the struggles of the people. In the center is the Monument to the People's Heroes, which commemorates those who died in wars. It took 7 years to build because there was a lot of controversy over the fact that it looks like a sword stuck in the ground, which would be cutting the city in half. In one corner of the square is a beautifully maintained garden and flower display. On the fourth side is the Forbidden City, the home of the emperors, with its imposing red walls and picture of Chairman Mao over the entrance. The Forbidden City is constructed with a series of gates, each having tighter restriction and security. Entering the Gate of Heavenly Peace, you pass a series of security officers and Secret Servicemen, and then under the photo of Mao, which weighs 6,000 pounds and is replaced with a freshly painted copy every year. The first enclosed area was the most accessible to the public during the time of the emperors. This is as far as horses and uninvited guests could access. Here the emperor had public meetings, such as announcing the yearly planting schedule or flogging an errant official. Each building has figurines adorning the corners of the roof. The more important the building, the more figurines it has, with the maximum being 9. The little Chinese children were adorable. Peg enjoyed waving and throwing kisses to them, which they immediately started doing back. Once the parents discovered this, they were honored and stopped to show us their children. The second passageway is called the Meridian Gate. Emperors believed that they were the sons of heaven and therefore should live in the center of the universe. They believed the meridian of the universe went through the middle of the gate, so they built the Forbidden City symmetrical to this axis. The Forbidden City is the world's largest palace complex, with 980 buildings and 9,999 rooms. This area includes a meandering river known as the Golden Water. It's crossed by 3 bridges. The paving stones were installed 15 layers thick, laid in alternate directions to prevent people from tunneling in. At the far end of the open area is a temple known as the Gate of Supreme Harmony. Through the gate we enter a large open yard containing a temple known as the Hall of Supreme Harmony. This area was used for coronations, royal birthdays, and weddings. In front of the hall is the Imperial Sundial. All that remains in the yard are large metal pots that were once used to hold water in case of fire. Fire is a major concern, as can be seen by the extensive use of lightning rods on every roof. I reminded our guide that every building in the Forbidden City is adorned with an invention by Benjamin Franklin, but he already knew that. We next entered the fourth enclosed area, which has a temple in the center called the Hall of Central Harmony. In this hall, the emperor administered civil service exams. The throne room in this temple contains very little furniture because the emperor didn't want places for assassins to hide. Next to the temple was a giant kettle that was once coated with gold. During World War II, much of the gold was scraped off by the invading soldiers. We finally enter the inner area, where the walkways are narrower and there are many smaller buildings. We came upon a portrait studio where a family was posing for a photo dressed in imperial clothing. Every doorway has a threshold which keeps out evil spirits which cannot jump over it. We visited the courtyard and living quarters that had been the residence of the Empress Dowager Longyu, known as the Dragon Queen. She was the evil stepmother of the last emperor. She had been a concubine of the emperor and had risen in power until after his death she took control of the Forbidden City and signed the abdication papers for the young emperor. There are paintings on every beam and under every roof, and each one has special meaning and a story to tell. The emperor's residence is in the Imperial Garden, which is the most tranquil part of the palace, containing old cypress trees, rare stones, and stone mosaic pathways. This building is the pavilion to usher in light. It is the place where the emperor's concubines were selected. The residence of the empress is known as the Palace of Earthly Peace and is where marriages were consummated. Only 30% of the Forbidden City is open to the public. Work is being done so that by the year 2020, 95% will be open. Exiting the rear of the Forbidden City, we see a mountain made from the dirt removed to dig the moat. The temple on top of the mountain was used as a lookout to watch for invading armies. The moat is 20 feet deep and the wall is 32 feet high, making the rear wall of the Forbidden City the most defendable. That evening, we had Peking duck for dinner. Peking is the ancient name of Beijing, and Peking duck is the classic dinner entree in the city. We watched as hundreds of roast ducks were brought in on carts and carved at the tables. An excellent ending to our first day. We will finish part 1 with comments from our guide Roy about how you count on your hands in China.
For another hand gesture, I think is very interesting from between the China and the Western, which is the number when we count from 1 to 10. And in China we count on 1 to 10 with our hand gesture only with the one hand. Yeah, only one hand. So from 1 to 10. So for example, because some place the people they cannot speak good English, or even they cannot speak English. So for example, you go some place, you ask to buy a bottle of beer. So for example, you want 7 beers. So you just show them 7 with your hand. They will know 7 beers. But what would you do 7 in your country? So when I say 7, okay, like this, like this, right. 7, yes. This, if you show that to the vendor in China, they will give you 25 beers. In China, we will say this is a 2, right? This is 5. So together, 2, 5, 25. They give 25 beers, and then it will be 52. So no matter each way, it's not 7. Okay, so big difference. So in China, we just use our one hand. What do we do? Okay, I think from 1 to 5, we're basically saying, right? We got a 1, 2, 3, or 3, 4, 5. Yeah, basically we're saying with that. And start from 6, we're different. So what is a 6 in China? Put the 3 middle finger down, like a calling. Yeah, 6. And what about 7? These 3 fingers put together. Yeah, put together. Yeah, 7, 8, 8 like a gun. Yeah, 8 like gun. 9 like a 1 but twist on top. 9. And 10 like a 2 like cross. Yeah, 10. Yeah, 10. So also in some city, this one also means a 10. Yeah, this one also means a 10.